Hey guys, and welcome to one more episode of Builder Nation. For today's agenda, we have Torrey Smith with us, co-founder and CEO of Endiatx, a medical robotics company that manufactures pill-sized robots capable of exploring and performing work inside the body, which is amazing. So welcome. Oh, there it is. Welcome, Torrey. Super happy to have you here.
Oh, we're super happy to be here. And, a lot of people say, Torrey, that's kind of a scary big pill. How am I supposed to swallow that? And all I can say is, folks, like we are working hard to make these as small as we can, right? Our first prototypes were just Arduino, Raspberry Pi stuff, but we started getting smaller and, we finally got down to sizes that we could put through our own bodies. And basically, we just love making robots. We love making robot pills. We love driving them around inside our stomachs like a video game. And we think that we might be onto something, for the world of medicine. So we're very excited to be here.
That's huge. That was the first one you ever made?
Yeah, so the beauty of this one is we called this Poolbot because Poolbot basically would just terrorize local swimming pools, right? But if you see in the back, you can see it has 4 little propellers, and the robot swims much in the same way as a quadcopter drone would fly. And that gave us the ability to do very amazing things in 3 dimensions. And so even though this is not a medical device, it's not ready, this is not our dream. It's the first step to our dream. We actually raised a little bit of money with that just by demonstrating to people in our community that, hey, we're serious. We're willing to go full time on this. We're willing to get up on stages and pitch the company idea. And, I think people started to really get excited when we started to build real things. So if you're out there and you have an idea, don't wait so many years like I waited. Ask your friends for help. You don't have to know everything. And just start building what you can build to show the people around you that you're serious. And then people will be attracted to that.
Oh, this is great. I mean, that's one of the best advices you can tell to entrepreneurs or people starting on this path. And actually, I wanted to ask you that. I mean, how do you come up with this idea? I know that you went to school for aerospace engineering, if I'm correct. So how did you, yeah.
So the thing about the idea of the dream of, tiny robot surgeons inside your human body, right? We call it micro robotics inside the human body, but we did not invent this concept, right? I mean, as a kid, I would see it in science fiction movies like The Fantastic Voyage or Inner Space, or like The Matrix, where those evil robot bugs crawl into Neo's body through his belly button. You read about things like nanotechnology. You read about things like, imagine if you had molecular sized robots in your bloodstream that could swarm a tumor and just make it vanish before your eyes. None of that is my idea, right? Or our ideas, Endiatx. What Endiatx is really about is just saying, hey, we keep talking about it. Let's do it, right? Let's make it real. And that's why I see our current latest robot. It's got 4 little thrusters. You can see the little propellers and stator vanes, and this is like $35 US of parts I'm holding in my hand, right? We have a little USB dongle. I don't know, what is that, like $15, something like that. Honestly, I think in high volume we could make this for like $25 US. It's a cheap little robot, and I think that it represents the first step in a very long and exciting journey where if you're not feeling so good, maybe you don't even have to go to the hospital, right? Maybe the hospital can come to you in the form of a pill and you just get on a Zoom call with your doctor, right? And then maybe if that works, well, maybe we can start putting tools on it and start going beyond just looking around. So that's kind of the Endiatx plan.
Wow, that's right. And I was reading something, I actually saw another interview of yours and I was wondering, like, how do you get off the video, the transmission? I know that you use like the controls, for like if it was an Xbox. Sure. How do you like connect the actual video to the computer?
So this is a great opportunity for me to show you some really low quality video. Are you well, let me just take you under the hood And I'm going to show you what we actually have right now, because what we have right now is, it's real. It's finally real. We're so excited. And by being real, it's also imperfect, right? Every week, every day, we're working on making it better. But let me show you a live view from a few weeks ago inside my own stomach. So I'll just start playing here. Right off the bat, you should see some really low quality video. You can see the frames per second is like 4 to 5 frames per second. That is not good enough for a video game, right? It has to be better than that. It's out of focus. The resolution is like 160 pixels square. But the thing about it is, I think in 2 months or so, we should have much better optics. We've got some fancy code we're writing to get better digital throughput. We're making this real in real time. And I would much rather, show people the truth and just ask people to decide for themselves if they want to be involved, than feel like I have to invent something and then hold up a house of cards. Let me show you another video. Like our robot's going to emplace the endoscopy. I mean, eventually, I would like to make it much easier for patients to get an endoscopy, right? If you ask your friend, who has like Crohn's or celiacs or gastritis or just any kind of GI issues, hey, what's your experience like getting an endoscopy or a colonoscopy or whatever it is you need? Usually the patient's going to tell you, oh man, I went to the hospital a bunch of times, but I got bounced from doctor to doctor, and multiple visits before I finally get an endoscopy. It's usually many months before you get that procedure. And it's going to cost money to get you to all those hospital visits. And it's going to have risks associated with putting tubes into your body and a central line and sedation, right? So what we're really seeing is, if we can make a cheap robot pill that lowers the barrier to entry, lowers the cost, lowers the risks involved, then I think we're going to make it much more accessible to a much larger patient population. I think we're going to give gastroenterologists a lot more work, to be honest. Over time, like the video I just showed you was just us with an Xbox controller. You could see it jerking around. It's not like closed loop control where it's like perfectly locked in place. That's coming, right? That's what we're working on right now. But the idea is, do we replace a gastroenterologist? No, I think we just make their screening job much less boring. Let the robots do the screening. Let the doctors do the treatment, right? Let the robot find imagery. Let the doctor make the hardcore diagnosis and then go into surgery or whatever. And I'll be honest with you, over time, I would like to do more of the work that the doctor is doing, but I see the doctor as the top of the pyramid, the absolute expert at the very top. I see these robots as the base of the pyramid.
Talking about the core technology of the pill, like how does it move around? I know that it has like 4 motors at the back, but
yeah, here we are in SolidWorks, and what you see is a shell, and you can see these little motors and propellers. It's very simple. It's just like a quadcopter, right? That's basically exactly what this is. And we're always playing around with different configurations. For example, we just started playing with another one that we call a tri-motor. Let's have a look at this one. Here you can see we've got like a little vertical thruster, and we've got 2 horizontal thrusters.
And what will you say it will be your ideal customer? Maybe hospitals or private clinics?
Sure, that's a very good question. We are interested in speaking with any gastroenterologist, right? So anyone who's sliding tubes into the digestive tract to look for problems and fix those problems is someone we want to speak with. And so you have socialized healthcare systems like in Europe or say like Canada's got a really good example of that. I think systems like that will be very excited about this technology because the payout per patient can go way down. I think that we can screen for illnesses much cheaper and much more universally available than is the current status quo. So it's really good, I think, for socialized medicine. For single payer healthcare systems, where you have like HMOs like Kaiser, I think Kaiser would probably tend to like this. One of the most interesting points of feedback we got was from the world of the private gastroenterological, did I even say that right? From private GI doctors. I think we're working with them very intimately because they basically said, this is amazing and this is disruptive, and it actually disrupts the current way that patients would flow through that healthcare system. And so we're just trying to work with all the stakeholders, because the bottom line is doctors want to treat patients. That's why they became doctors.
And talking about the procurement process, I wanted to ask you, like, how hard it has been for you to find pieces, or when it comes to procurement, the purchasing, finding these really hardware parts in order to build a robot. How hard has it been?
Right. So the parts are hilarious, right? Like the electric motors are just like the little shiny things on the side. You see these 4 little electric motors. That's the motor that shakes your cell phone, right? Those cost 40 cents, like less than half a dollar. We get those on eBay right now. We're starting to reach out to manufacturers of motors, because it turns out the motors that we found, the smallest motors that we found, are still much bigger than we actually need, right? So we do want to move towards more and more custom, but at the same time, I really value the concept of making something that's inexpensive, that's going to really change a patient's cost, right? And so, like, there's an instinct to over-engineer everything, and for us, I think we want to be careful there, because our first product is not going to do everything in the GI tract. It's going to be targeting a few very specific things. Like, can it see an ulcer in your stomach? Could it see a big red spot, right? Can it see a bleed? Can it see a big lump of scary tissue, right? An obvious tumor. Those indications for use are things that we should be able to be relevant for, or relevant to, in just a few months, right? And so I'd rather, let's get a cheap version of this technology to market, treating actual patients, and then let's continue the evolutionary process to really go sci-fi. I don't want to lose focus and spend years and many millions of dollars developing something that's too advanced. Let's just take this first step together.
Well, agree. And I mean, I love the mentality that you have of like, okay, let's be real. This is what we have. This is what we're working on. This is what we're looking for, you know? And I think actually investors value that, because they see that you're actually working on it, you know? So how hard it has been for you to get the first investors, to get the first people interested.
Right. Well, it's pretty funny, you know, like I have a spreadsheet with more than 300 venture capital funds on it, right? And I have hundreds and hundreds of rejections, right? To date, I think it's 5 venture capital funds have funded us, which we're very proud of. You know, we're very excited about that. And several dozen angel investors that really came in at the beginning and said, we believe in you. That's why they call them angels, I think, is because without angels like that, technology like this could not exist. But yeah, the fundraising hit rate for Endiatx is something on the order of about 1%, which is pretty typical. If you're a founder and you want to go launch a company, get ready to pitch 100 times to get 1 check, right? And that just means you need to really believe in what you're doing. What you're doing really needs to be something that's going to move this world forward.
I was going to ask you, I mean, now that this was really motivational. Thank you so much, Torrey. I wanted to ask you, now that we talked about the problems that might come up whenever you're starting your startup. But what about, can you tell us, maybe in order to close up this interview, what is the biggest technical challenge that you have ever solved?
Biggest technical challenge. 9 years of my life was spent removing plaque from arteries with this device. I was really proud of the technical breakthroughs we've made with medical devices. And the funny thing is, 10 years ago, I would have given you a list of my technical breakthroughs or reasons why my name was on a certain patent. But honestly, this technology is a choice. The big breakthrough for me was not technical. The big breakthrough for me was deciding that I could stop feeling sorry for myself. I always used to compare myself to others, and the money that they might have had in their family, or the schools that they could go to, or the technical toys they had access to. I was always feeling sorry for myself and always comparing myself to others, and giving myself an excuse to not be ambitious. I felt because I didn't have these things, I could just settle for less and not expect so much of myself. But at the age of 37, I clicked on an ad that said practice pitch your idea for free at the Founder Institute. And I walked into this place, and they said, it says here that you want to make robot pills. Tell me more, right? And that started, it was like lighting a fuse. And I realized I'm going to choose to do this now. And I made a little commitment to myself to stop feeling sorry for myself, because, a white man in Silicon Valley who's an engineer feeling sorry for himself is a very, very sad thing in Silicon Valley. That is so not who you want to be, right? But this is a choice. It's a choice, and the word is, it's not necessarily brilliance. This was not my idea. This idea has been around for decades. This was our choice to do it. And it was our choice not to give up. It's perseverance, I would say, makes a founder. More than anything else, perseverance. And to that end, I mean, we've taken the company down to zero cash many times since we incorporated. We've experienced, a co-founder quitting. Many founding teams stop when one of the founders quits. No, we lost our CTO, moved him to the advisory board, kept going forward. We're currently recruiting wizards. We will not stop. That's what makes a founder, and that's what makes your success inevitable, is simply looking in the mirror and just laughing every time things get really, really dark, because the founder's journey is a journey through the darkness. Perhaps at the end of your journey, you have some beautiful, huge, big win, right? Like, for example, I would love to ring the bell at the New York Stock Exchange. I would love to have that experience. What a journey that would be. But that's not the good old days. Everyone dreams of having money and yachts and cars. I don't want any of that, because I know that eventually, when we have succeeded and we've changed the nature of medicine, we're going to look back to the time when we were in our living room fighting for our own existence. That is going to be the series of moments that we always look back on and yearn for, because that's when everything meant something. And that's why founders are so good friends to other founders, is because we see that struggle. And that's what creates the brotherhood and the sisterhood, that camaraderie. I don't want to be hanging around a golf course with a bunch of boring rich people, right? Like, to me, the currency of our times is, what are you doing with your own creativity, with your own life? The money that someone else gave you does not make you interesting. In fact, it's probably a poison against you becoming interesting, because it might remove your ambition and it might remove your creativity. You might just see a world of consumer products that you can purchase, and then you have become probably the most boring kind of person I know. On the other hand, if you are savagely uncomfortable with the world around you, both on your own behalf and for the sake of others, you might just be a founder.
That's true. That's true. And I think it's really interesting what you're sharing, because I think everything comes down to empathy, just like you said, and the necessity of being ambitious and to getting outside of your comfort zone in order to create and to develop something, right?
We're looking for I have two milestones that I've been telling my team. that I'm looking for, because the first one of those milestones might be coming in a few months. Hopefully not a few years. I would like it to be a few months, maybe 12 months, maybe 2. No, not 2, 6. Within a few months, I want a doctor to take me aside and say, hey, we've been testing PillBot and we tested on a patient, we looked inside the stomach and it was a routine screening, but we found something really scary. And here's the deal. We would not have screened that patient if it wasn't for PillBot because their symptoms didn't qualify them. This is someone I would have tested years from now. But I found something scary, something that we actually can treat now because we found it now. And today, I want you to take that home and tell your team that, you know, you kind of saved a life today with this technology. I want that moment in time because I know it's coming. I've seen that moment before with these other devices. I want that moment for PillBot the first time, and then I want it the 100,000th time. And that's how we're going to bracket the Endiatx journey. When we get to the 100,000th save, and that's an arbitrary number, but it sounds cool. Let's get to the 100,000th save and let's take a breath, right? Because at that point, I probably have all white hair. Someone once said, spend yourself in a worthy cause. This is worthy. This is worth spending yourself on. This is worth living for, and it's also worth dying for.
And also make sure that you will indeed save a lot of lives, and not only lives, but also families and people and works and dreams. So
hold me to it now, because I say I want it to be 10 times cheaper for a patient. I say I want it to be 10 times more accessible to a patient. And I'm not talking about, you know, Karen in her Tesla Model X in San Francisco. I'm talking to a working single mother in some country that's not doing so well, right? Who's ill and she knows she's not well, but she doesn't have the time or the money to go see a doctor, right? I'm speaking to the realities of what's actually out in our world. And what I'm saying is I want to fundamentally change your experience. And so hold me to this, please, because I've said it publicly now, right? What if in 15 years I've become sick with that same greed and that same laziness that I see all around me in the tech industry? Oh goodness, please hold me to it, right? Because right now I see this as a beam of light that can pierce through all that darkness, right? And actually do something good, okay? So it's important to have things that you can say publicly, that you can be held to later.
And you will definitely with this interview. We have everything recorded already. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing all of your experiences. And do you have any social media? I mean, I know that we can find you on LinkedIn, but I don't know, maybe Twitter.
The biggest thing with Endiatx is just pronunciation. Endiatx is 3 things put together, right? It's to go within, the END, endoscopy or endo, diagnostics, to understand what is wrong. And TX is medical shorthand for treatment, to fix the problem. And that's the dream, is that we move beyond the moving eyeball. I want this thing to have those robot arms. And so if you're interested in learning more, there's our janky website at endiatx.com. And we have a presence on LinkedIn and Twitter. And what we're really doing right now is we're trying to inspire other founders to go do awesome things and to maybe help them. And we're also really trying to reach out to the wizards of the world, to the passionate, brilliant minds out there. I've shown you how bad our video is. Please help us. We need your help to make this thing real, right? And so that's why we want to be out there in the world interacting with people who can actually make a difference. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Torrey. And remember, guys, that you can also find more information, interesting articles, interesting projects just like this one, and startups just like the one we just heard about, and directly on our website, ControlHub.com/builder-nation. So you can find our community there. And thank you so much for being a part of this community. Also, Thank you so much one more time, Torrey, for taking the time and for sharing everything, all of your knowledge, all of your experiences with us.
It's been a pleasure, Lisa. Thank you so much.